Hi. Who are your favorites? I'm always good.
No, for you.
Hold on.
That's okay. With extra.
Page. God. Yeah. Yeah, you're
Come, come, ye saints, no toil nor labor fear, but with joy you wend your way. Oh, hark to you, this journey may appear, praise shall be as your day. If wretched far for us to strive, by his swell, God for us prepared, far away in the west.
We're just so pleased that there are so many of you here. We're so glad that our extended family gets to hear too from two relatives. We're going to start our program. I'm having a presentation by Cliff. It seems like the best way we can honor those who are living is by honoring those who have passed before us, who have helped to make us what we are, provided us with the opportunities that we now have as a result of their efforts in our behalf that they were alive on this earth. So this is going to present just a little bit of our family background. We're so grateful that he does so much to help us in our genealogy. Trace everything. As a result of this effort, that we were able to go to the temple yesterday and the day before and do all those baptisms and sealings for our family. And it's very special to all of us. And from this baptism,
They told me I had 3 hours. I said it's 2.5. Okay. Coming on here, I'm going to do one of those charts. What I want to do first is, I've had a lot of fun between that 4 or 5 years ago. More quality than what we did was every time I get the chance to come to Salt Lake and do genealogy, I do it and have a little paid researcher that helps us named Noel Debbie. And what I did was I spent a couple of days one time, literally before he went on his mission, and he's due back next month, by the way. I received a blessing. Received a blessing. And the blessing has said that the blood of Lehi and Nephi flowed in his veins, and that's why he was of the tribe of Ephraim. And he went back and he read a scripture. The blessing said that he was a pure-blooded Ephraimite. And so I wanted to trace that down through one of these people. Somebody had to have some Ephraim somewhere. And we'd already traced Dad's lines. Our Isons and our Stratton lines, we have them back through Judah. That's why she's such a Jew on payday, okay? That's why. We trace them back through Judah, back to Adam. But you probably can't see this. If you want to open up yours, you can open it up a little bit at a time. A little corner at a time. Maybe, Carol, I'd like you to go back to the window. You have somebody that makes over here and try to make it just kind of... I just kind of want to go through this with you a little
let
bit.
Carol sit between you so she
Show
can
you
show the chart.
2 or 3 of the fun things on here. Don't try to open the ball away because the wind will get it.
Don't rip it.
Stand behind it. Stand behind it.
It's tight.
And this is where the belly button is. I'm an anatomy teacher, you know. We're going to start over here. right down here at the bottom, you'll notice that we did this through Mom's lines. We could have done it through Dad's lines. This Adam chart through Judah. We've done it on Dad's lines, and I can send that to you, Lane, if you'd like. But we've traced 7 of Mom's lines, her being a non-member, back to Adam through Judah, and you'll see down here, each of you children should be listed on here somewhere at the very bottom. I even put Benjamin on here. Benjamin's on here somewhere. And each of the grandchildren can see their names down here at the very bottom. And then it goes up, and you can see how it goes up, and see where we tie in. We're coming right up above the Adam chart, where it says Adam chart. We come right up to Louis the 8th, and then it comes over and joins this big chart, and it shows our relationship to the Savior through the Virgin Mary. Goes back up through Judah, Jacob, Isaac, Abraham, Noah, the guy that could swim real well, great water skier, and back up to Adam. Okay? Well, that's one of the fun things I did was I want to know how I was related to Hotshot. Come in here, young lady. Dad, who's this?
Oh, good. Okay, Cliff, go help.
We're going to just take a quick break. I got a couple of husbands to help Mom. Chuck, Ange. She's got to have a sturdy chair. I'm just going to call a quick time out here. Barbara's always been the life of the party.
You bet.
Still is. Thank you for coming. Aunt Leah is very special. I want all you Strattons to meet Aunt Leah personally.
Grandpa Stratton's sister.
Grandpa Stratton's good-looking sister.
When you break the bubble, remember you said that first. We never said one thing we have to do that.
Let me just say about Aunt Leah. Aunt Leah's one of the people who started us on genealogy years ago. Her mother, our grandma Isaac Stratton, and her patriarchal blessing said that she would do lots of genealogy. Well, she went around from little town to little town. They were around Hinckley, Utah. They didn't have much genealogy like we do today, you know, computers and Adam charts and stuff like this. But her and Dad's mom, Emma, used to go around from little town to little town and used to encourage people to do what they could because they helped build the St. George Temple. And so they helped encourage people to go to the temple and to do the work for their ancestors. And Aunt Leah was one of the inspirations for us to get us going. So a lot of what you see today is based upon what Aunt Leah started years and years ago. So it really is a thrill for me to have you here. And we're gonna give Elaine a computer disc that has a lot of item stuff on it that I think you'll like. Okay, Dad wants to introduce the whole group. Okay, well, Ted's the good-looking one back there. Okay, and I don't remember Dave and Elaine and Jan. And this is Tinny's and Stratton's, and this is Openshaw's, Carol Ann. You remember Carol Ann? I won't go through all the cousins' names. And do you know this guy? Okay, you might know them, and that's Marlene, and we don't know what the relationship is to him yet. That's undecided. Okay, we're not sure what that relationship is yet. And of course, you remember, this is my wife Marcia. This is Chuck, my brother. Still the best looking though. And then these are all mixed cousins. We got Strattons and Danas and Openshaws and Megs. Remember Megs, my sister. And then these are the Christophersons. This is Chuck's better half, Jana, and her family. We're proud to have them here. Okay, is that close enough? All right. Come on here, Adam and Eve. Let's do this. Okay, get your Adam charts and let's have Aunt Leah see this. This is on Mom's side, but I've done this kind of thing on Dad's side too. Aunt Leah will really appreciate this. You can kind of open it up a little bit at a time. We're going to open it up right now this half. We're going to open it up on this half, okay? On this half, we just went through how all of our cousins are listed. This is the Adam chart through Europe, or through the kings and queens of Europe. Obviously, to get through the Dark Ages, they didn't keep records. So you have to tie into royalty to go through the Dark Ages. Okay? And everybody's done it on all their lines, or almost everybody that has done any church genealogy, because we all have good guys and bad guys, so we all hit royalty sooner or later. But this is one of 7 of Mom's lines that we've traced back to Adam, okay, through royalty. And then I want to know who my famous cousins were. So what we did was we spent some extra time, and we tied ourselves in to such people as, if you look, there's George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and then I had to put Joseph and Emma on. Joseph Smith is on here somewhere. There's Joseph Smith, the prophet Joseph, and his wife Emma, the founders of the Church of Jesus Christ, the Latter-day Saints, through the Savior. And then I wanted to see if I had any political people. So I went and I found President George Bush. Anybody know who he is? Shows how you're related to President George Bush through Grandma Stratton. Lots of other people. Some of you might be poets. There's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow on here. There's George Romney. I didn't know, Megs, whether Gerald worked with George Romney. Wasn't that right? He was his secretary. Yeah. So I put him on here too. That's George Romney. And then there's Parley P. Pratt, Ulysses S. Grant. He lost, but he's still a nice guy. Okay. There's John Foster Dulles. There's all kinds of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Wilford Woodruff, who most of our ancestors were sealed to. In those days, they had adoption. And Wilford Woodruff adopted most of our family in the temple. Okay. In the old days, they used all the Mormons that had walked across the plains. They were allowed to be adopted, spiritually adopted, to a member of the Quorum of the 12 of the First Presidency. And Wilford Woodruff adopted most of our family. That means that he was supposed to herd them and make sure that they made it to the celestial kingdom. Because Joseph said that I will carry this people to the celestial kingdom on my back load. And he dispersed that then to the Quorum of the 12. So the very early members of the church, those that walked across the plains, and we had tons of them through Leah's and Dad's line, Wilford Woodruff was our spiritual head in the 150 years ago. Okay, we were all sealed to him. And anyway, just lots of fun people. You can take a look at that. I don't know whether you guys voted for Bush or not, but you're related to him. Okay? Okay, that's what this is. This is famous cousins over here. And then back to Clifford Lee. Remember we said that Cliff got a blessing where I said that the blood of Ephraim flows through his veins. Excuse me. And I wanted to find that. So I spent a couple of days in Salt Lake just trying to find how Clifford Lee could have Ephraim in it. And so what we did was, if you look, all of you cousins have your names over here. You can find yourself on here. There's Benjamin right here. See yourself, Benji? That's you. That's the handsome one. See right there? Okay. And what I did was I put together an Adam chart through the Book of Mormon. Because I knew that we had Ephraim and Manasseh come across with Lehi and Ishmael. And so we do have Maria Petra Sans Cruz, who we know as Lamanite. Okay? And we knew that she was a Pima Indian. We knew that from our Aunt Ruth Cross down in Tucson. So what I did was I played Dr. Stratton, and I got all these anthropology books and all of these biology books and stuff, and I traced it from Mom back through her mother, her grandmother, her great-grandmother, and back to Maria Petra Alcantar. And then I took it back from tribe to tribe to tribe. I couldn't do it person to person, but I went from tribe to tribe to tribe, based upon archaeological evidence, not my own, but other people's. And we traced them back to the Pimas, and then back to the Hohokams, and then back to the Mayas. Okay? And from the Mayas, we take off 2 branches. One branch is those that came across the Bering Strait thousands of years ago that have, the darker skin, and the Asiatic eyes. Take a picture of Adonasha, or if you take a picture of Petra, her sister, who was named after this Petra, our Maria Petra, who was the first Indian, they have Indian characteristics. That's where the Indian characteristics came from. Okay? Anybody here married someone from Japan, your kids are going to have Asiatic characteristics as well as Caucasian characteristics. called genetics. Okay? So that's where those characteristics came from. But I still didn't have blood of Ephraim. I was looking for blood of Ephraim. So I went back to the Book of Mormon, and actually I didn't do this. There was a couple of guys in Salt Lake that have done this years and years ago. And you trace it all the way through the Book of Mormon very carefully. And you get to the Lamanites and to Laman. And of course some of the Nephites intermarried over the 1,000-year history of the Book of Mormon. So there's some blood of Nephi, and it's not much by this time because we're clear down here. We're talking a long, long time ago, but there's still some there. Okay? Then you go to Nephi, you go to Lehi and Ishmael. And remember, Lehi, according to the Book of Mormon, was from Manasseh, and Ishmael was from Ephraim. So now we've traced Mom's genealogy through Judah, Ephraim, and Manasseh, 3 of the 12 tribes of Israel, and that's where he got his blood, right there. And then you go to Joseph, who was the father of Ephraim and Manasseh. You go back over to Isaac, Abraham, and back on up. So that's where Clifford Lee got his Ephraim blood. It was from our petrol line. So now you guys have a unique Adam chart. A lot of the old Mormons have one of these where they go through Europe. But you also go through the Book of Mormon. You go through Europe and through America, back to Adam. Kind of fun. Plus, you're related to some pretty hotshot presidents and poets. Notice that there's no singers on here. We did not get any blood for singing. Okay? And I noticed that came out this morning in our opening song.
No,
Okay?
I thought we did pretty
Keep
good.
the camera on, Mom. There's no singing blood in our family.
Now.
I gave one of these to each of the families, and you've got your name on it. And I put it in tubes so that you can take it home on the plane or whatever with you, and it won't get. One of you has to wait for the other one. Yeah.
Lots
Later, when
smaller.
there's not so much wind, you can go into a trailer and open that up and study that. There's a lot more on there too. That's just a real quick summary. We only have 15 minutes. Makes it I couldn't have more than 15 or 20 minutes. But that shows you your line through Ephraim. Okay?
Kinko's.
Yeah. This is on Mom's line. I've done the royalty from what Aunt Leah gave me on through the European line.
On the Stratton side.
And the cousins all, and the famous cousins all plug in there too. I'll be happy to send that to you if you like. Just leave me a current address. I'll mail that to you. Who wants it? I'll send it to Barbara. I'll send it to you. I have all of that. Because I'm going to do this for Marcia's too. Marcia's line also is effective royalty. But we're the only ones that have an Indian, so we're the only ones that go to the Book of Mormon. You guys don't have any Indian blood in you. At least so far as I know. You have a lot of Judah in you, but... Now, the next thing, today is the day of the computer. And so genealogy is moving computerized. So what we decided to do, and again, I have Marcia and Marlene to thank for this. What we did was we took, I have ulterior motives. We have so much genealogy. Caroline and Leah and Marcia and Margaret and I and Uncle Chuck on our new Spain line have worked on over so many decades that we keep having people that are related, that go to Salt Lake and pick up the work within the temple of the IGI and say, send me all you have on the ISOM line. And I go down and I've got 3 file cabinets full of ISOMs. Okay? How do I send all I have on the ISOM line? So what I need is helpers to computerize all the genealogy we have to do 2 things. Number 1 is it's real easy to make a disc. And you can put up on your screen instantaneously any pedigree you want, any family group that you want. Okay? I love research. I don't have time to do that. There's a lot of information that we need to put on discs. So I'm asking for every family, I'm going to give you all a disc that has some of that and some stories, and I want you to invite me to send you things from the disc. And once we get these discs done of our family, then I'll put them on our modem there in Reno and transfer them to Salt Lake for the ancestral file. So anybody then can walk into Salt Lake and say, my great-grandfather I know was William Ison. And I don't know anything else about it, but I know he was a Mormon way back when. He can plug in William Ison's name and go back 17 generations from Leah and Dad. Plus have all the Ison stories that we've compiled over all the years. Now, wouldn't that be a real find, huh? If you were a non-member or someone that didn't know much about the church. So, what I did was let me give each one of you one of these. Meg and Lane, we're going to give you one for your grandpa. This is for you two to share, and I'm going to read yours real quick. Okay? You use the bigger the movie. Yes. This you have, Joe. Give that one, Joe. Listen. Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay. What we did was my sweetheart and my daughter Marlene sat down and we put on this disc some things that we thought you might enjoy as a result of this reunion. So if you'll go through this with me real quick, this tells you what's on the disc. Okay? And at least half of this is Stratton, so that's why that's good for Leah and Barbara to have. Welcome. We're glad you want to read some of the family stories and see some of the genealogy we put on this disc for you at the 1991 Stratton reunion. Because we went to the temple and did the work for both our news, they said that there was no church that was right, so they were waiting for apostles and prophets. So all the names we did yesterday were people that were waiting for the restoration. And so I would probably imagine that most, not all, but most of the people whose work we did yesterday in the temple the day before, haven't already accepted, they're probably ready to go pretty soon. Okay, and that's the piece that he wrote about his beliefs, religious beliefs as Dr. Minister. Nobody here has, but I just found it a couple of weeks ago. So it's on that computer disk. Okay? If you want to get a taste of New Spain, what it was like, you can read Hilario Santa Cruz, I told you about. If you want to see how we traced Dad's Ison line back 17 generations, 548 years back into the Dark Ages, follow the Ison pedigree. As you know, I went on a mission being, I've been back 2 or 3 times for my job, and I always spend a few extra days over there, doing genealogy. And as the school pays my way, I make it a vacation. Okay? So I went to a place called, near Kettering, where there is a big Church of England archives. And they have literally thousands and thousands of Ison names that Salt Lake does not have. And so I went through there, I spent 2 days, and I went through and I traced our Ison line back into the Dark Ages. And I got the original man named La'Isham. I went all the way back to the Celtics, before there was in England, over to France, and then back up to France up north. And that's all on that disc. Okay? So that's on that disc. So we have Dad's line back at the Dark Ages and Mom's line back to Adam. He's still in the dark, no. We also have his line back, as Leah knows, back to Adam several times too. In fact, more than on Mom's, because a lot of people are working on Dad's line. Okay, so that's all on that disc. But to do that, now like I told Meg and Chuck, I don't know. I pretended like I did not have the personal ancestral file from Salt Lake on my computer. And I put a copy of the disc in and said, okay, let's see if the MS-DOS will read it. Because we don't have an Apple, we have an IBM compatible like Barbara does. And I was not supposed to be able to get into this. We're supposed to have the PAF program from Salt Lake to read it, to read this Ison line. But I read it off of MS-DOS. And I am no computer programmer. I don't know if it went into my hard drive and picked up the PAF and plugged it in for me automatically. So you might take it home. If you don't have the Salt Lake one, you can do all the stories on there on WordPerfect, and you might try to pull it up off of MS-DOS, and you might be able to pull up the pedigrees too.
I need you to tell me what package it is, but I need to buy. Jeff just bought one yesterday. We got it here in camp. You check it out before you let me see.
Or maybe Janet, he's taking. Show us what it looks like.
Yeah, we can do that. Before we go, yeah.
Later.
Well, no, I want them all to see it. We want to convert it. You bring it. It costs you $35, and you can put it on your Visa or MasterCard over the phone. Okay? So that's what I did. Okay. All right. Finally, it's at the reunion.
You get it at
we
the
gave out Adam's chart
distribution
showing your Lehigh line in America. We also gave you some cousin relationships to brag about. If you're a Republican, to brag about it, because you're related to Bush. Okay. Highlighted to Joseph and Emma, President Bush, and the poet Wadsworth Longfellow, and so on. Of course, our greatest experience was going with Joe to get his endowments. Congratulations, Joe and Carol Ann. That's awesome. We're really proud of you folks. I want to personally thank Marcia and Marlene. I had to put this on, otherwise I couldn't go home. I want to personally thank Marcia and Marlene for the many hours they spent at the computer putting all this good stuff on the disc for us at our reunion. And they did spend a lot of hours. They spent a lot of hours, folks. There's a lot of stuff on that disc. I could never have done it without their help. Thank you for coming to 1991 Stratton Reunion at Provo, Utah. Thank you. Okay? And what I did was I just ran what's called an RIN sorted list. When you get into it, what they do is they give every person that you put in on genealogy, they give them a number, and that's how you can find them real easy. You can just make an index, and these are all the people that Marcia and Marlene put on that disc on a Stratton and Isom line. So you can see that they put a few people on there.
And that's just pedigree. That's not even family group sheets with their children. I ran out of time.
You guys
Hi. Come on in.
Oh, hi. Yes. I didn't recognize you. Hi, Amy. Come on in. And,
Marlene.
Gloria. Okay. Cousins right here. Can you cousins sit in the back somewhere? Come on up here, guys. You have to be right here.
That's my great-granddaughter.
And this is my stepson, Nikki, and that's her great-great-granddaughter. And this is my daughter, Lori.
Hi, Lori. Come on in. Just have some seats.
Here's some chairs up here.
For you next to Margaret.
Not for a minute.
Okay. You've just been riding a lot, huh?
She wants to know where the little girl.
There's one right in the trailer.
The trailer right there.
Just go in the trailer. Yeah. Just walk in.
Okay, I know my time's about
That's
going.
mine.
Let me show you. This is what you get for $35. You can buy it on your Visa, or just stop by Salt Lake if you live here.
Distribution.
Okay, and this you can
being
read.
of the tribe of Judah, what's your cut?
I get half for every one I sell. No. Costs $35.
I got my son-in-law one, and I got the wrong one. And that's why I have you the other thing.
Okay, what there is there's a 2.0, 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. If you have a 2.0 or 2.1 for $8, you can upgrade it to a 2.2.
You can't do that anymore. We tried to do that yesterday. It's no longer available.
I lied. You all have to spend $35 to get a 2.2. Okay? This is it right here. I'm just going to pass this around so you guys can all see what it is.
You can get it in the small 3.5 or 5 1/4.
Okay?
Bigger
Yeah,
disc.
either one. Okay? Or you can just buy one per family because they don't care if you care all over the place. And this is really easy to use. I have computers at both of my jobs, both places where I work. And when I put that thing on, in less than 10 minutes, I was doing everything on there. And I'm not a computer whiz. So if you can do WordPerfect, this is like eating apple pie and ice cream. It's really easy. So don't be afraid. Anyway, these are some of the names that are on your thing, plus all those stories, plus some other stories I haven't even told you about. We added them on after I made up my little introduction. Okay? All right, one more thing here, and then we're going to... No, this is Joe's or Carol Ann's.
It's ours.
No,
We have ours.
We don't have
Yeah,
one.
this is Mom's.
this is Chucky's there. Because you guys don't have a computer, do you? You guys have me. I'll give you a copy of whatever
We
you
get.
want. Okay?
Grandma says, wait a minute.
All right. Next thing, I have a present for my brother. The almost as handsome as his brother. Okay. When I went on my mission to England, to Wales, most of the time in Wales, kind of a fun thing happened to me. When I received my patriarchal blessing when I was like 10, 11 years old, it says in my patriarchal blessing, it says, "Thou shalt be called to that great nation of Great Britain, and there thou shalt find much important genealogy work." There was 108 missions when I was called, and so I decided I wasn't going to tell nobody about my patriarchal blessing. My chances were 1 in 108 of going to Wales, okay? And I wanted to see, if this whole thing really worked. So I didn't tell my bishop or my stake president or nobody. I was a young kid. I had a testimony, but I like to challenge a little bit. So I didn't tell anybody, and sure enough, I got called to England. And I spent 18 months in Wales, and I spent 6 months in the Netherlands. And what I found out while I was there, I was able to do a lot of Cooper work in the Alba Church area. This is all Stratton stuff. And so Leah knows about this. I've shown her this already years ago. I've been off a mission a couple of years. Okay? But I found out about the genealogy work while I was there. And then when I got home and really got into it in Salt Lake, then I realized that most of the places where I've been on my mission, I had Stratton ancestors there that had joined the church and come across the plains from those, and they had ancestors back there. So on other trips back, I got to go to these places like Clyde, Wales, and Neath, and Cardigan, and I got to look at places and churches and things where I had ancestors. So I only knew a little bit about that I had ancestors in England when I was there the first time on my mission, and then since I've been able to go back several times and had lots of fun. Well, Chuck was called to Spain on his mission, and we knew we had Spanish lines there, from there, but we didn't know where the places were through Mom's line, where in Spain it was. So what I did, and this is not on your computer disk, and nobody has it. I did this like the night before I left. I sat there and sorted through all of my Spain stuff. I took a map of Spain, and I put on here all the places where our ancestors came from in Spain. Now that we know where they came from. And we're going to send Chuck and Janet to Spain, okay, on all the money we get from selling these computer programs. Okay? And I asked Chuck yesterday or the day before how many places he had served near. For example, our Hilario Santa Cruz came from San Sebastian, Spain. These names are probably familiar to many of you. Francisco Elias Gonzalez de Zaya came from the La Rioja district. Okay, that means that you've got a lot of Basque in you. You're Basques. And then down here in the south, near Sevilla, where Chuck served, is where our Perilla line comes from. And so I only have one copy of this. It has Chuck's name on it. So it's his. If you want to see it, you can see whether Chuck ever decides he wants to have a second honeymoon. Even a first honeymoon. Okay. And go to Spain, he can go back, and this shows where our family came from in Spain. We've now made that jump across the ocean to Spain. Well, here you go, Uncle Chuck. It's been a pleasure to you over the years. I never have asked to go there. I've just gone. Okay? Now, what I wanted to do for a few minutes was, since we talked about our ISOM line, I wanted to talk about an experience I had in the spirit world with Owen Isom and his wife. And I want to tell you a little bit about what it's like over there, so that those of you that have a loved one over there kind of know what they're like, what it's like over there. Okay? This is Owen Isom. This is the guy we have back. 17 generations from Leah and Dad back in the dark ages. This is his line right here. This is him. He's the guy that joined the church, and he was the district president during the time of the prophet Joseph when Brigham was over there on his mission. Brigham made him a district president. And this is where we trace our bishop's line. We have 7 generations of bishops. Dad and I have been bishops, and then his Your father was a bishop, remember, Leah? You told us about that court they held one time about that young men's president was giving us a hard time. And so our generation was bishop, and then their generation, our grandpa Stratton was the bishop, and then William was the bishop, Isom, and then Owen Isom was the bishop. So we have 5 generations of bishops, all the way back to Father Joseph Smith. So if any of you here serve as bishops, it'll just make you the 6th generation. Kind of runs in the blood. Okay? Chances are some of you guys that are half asleep here today, you don't know it yet, but you're probably going to be presiding over a ward on all those blessings and problems. Okay? Yeah, when you look at Chuck, it's tough, but it might happen. It might happen. Okay? Anyway, so this is our bishop's life. And what it was I didn't know anything about the Isoms, or very little. I knew a lot of the genealogy, way back, because others had done that long before I came along. But I wanted to find out about him as a person. So what I did was I got all these aunts and uncles to send me, and extended cousins to send me all the family stories that they had about them, but nobody had a picture of it. And so I had all of these stories about Owen and Elizabeth Isom, and I put together a real nice life history. And in the life history, it talks about how they lived at a place called Mount Dell near Virgin. Okay, and I had been to Mount Dell going through, and I was never able to find where they lived. And so I was struggling with that, with this life history, writing this life history, and went to bed one night, and as soon as I went to sleep, I was ushered into the spirit world with Owen. And just tell you parts of it, let me tell you what happened, then I'll tell you a little bit more. Immediately, whoever took me into the spirit world took me to Mount Dell, and I'd only seen the place. I didn't know anything about what was where, or where they lived and all that. And I looked over there by that creek, and I go down a little pond. Well, they had a stream that came over here to the pond where they got drinking water, and then they had another creek that went down on the other side. And I saw Grandpa Isom and a couple of his sons coming up from the across this little field from the stream. And so I asked whoever was with me, and I don't know who it was, but I asked whoever was with me. I said, well, which one of those is Owen? Because I wanted to see his face. And I'd been his whole life story, and I didn't know what the guy looked like. And so I saw Owen Isom. I never got to meet him. Just as I was about to go up to meet him, coming across those fields, all of a sudden I found myself walking by some corrals. I wasn't walking, I was just moving by some corrals. And there was a couple of kids. One was about Margot's age, and a couple were like Adam's and Krager's age. And there was a girl and 2 boys. And as I was going by these corrals, and this messenger was telling me who lived in each of these places, these houses along the way, these kids said, because you could, without saying a word to me, we communicated from mind to mind, like you do in the spirit world. And the little girl turned to one of the boys and said, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done, being here so that this Isom guy can see where we used to live. And I have to come back into this early form so he can see me the way I was when I lived here. And she was all ticked off, as some Isoms get, kind of grumpy, that that she had to come back and appear so that I could see the way it was 100 years ago. Okay? And then from the corral, then they showed me, the messenger showed me where everybody lived, showed me where their old roads were, showed me where they lost a cow one time that got stuck in the mud, and where they tried to lift her up by the belly, because cattle that was your money. The more cattle you had, the richer you were able to become. So they put straps underneath her and lifted her up, and I saw all of that happen. Okay, and then I found that story later. Okay, and added it to my history. So then, after I had that experience in the spirit world, then a few days later I found an aunt that said she had a picture of Owen and some of the kids. And so I asked her to send them to me, and she sent me, there was 5 pictures in the envelope. I told my wife, I said, you take those pictures and turn them, and the names were on the back. But don't show me the names, you just put them face up, and I'll show you Owen. And sure enough, I didn't know anybody else, but I picked out Owen's picture immediately because I had seen him in the spirit world that time. Okay? Then, what happened was in 75, Dad and I went back there. Remember how we did it on our odometer? And when I went back there again, the part of the road, I drew a map, and those of you that have my life history have this map, and this part of the road was still there, where they came around the mountain. And I remember thinking to myself when Dad and I went back there, that is an old, old road. And now this is all pasture, and there's a big rancher that has a bunch of cows and bulls out there. And that road was still there. And 2 years later, we went back, and that road was gone. And I'm convinced that the Lord allowed me to have that road when I went back after my dream, so I could have a beginning point from which to begin, so I could draw this map and show where everybody lived, and where the corrals were that I went by, and where the little kids were sitting, and all the weird stuff that happened to me. Anyway, so that those of you that know, that have family in the spirit world is a wonderful place. It is extremely, extremely peaceful there. You don't even want to come back. It's so peaceful. It's like catching fish all day long. It's just the most. It's just, and you know, there's people say there's angelic music and stuff. Baloney, you know. There's nothing there but peace. There's nothing there but light. There is no such thing as darkness or shade. Everything is light. We only have darkness on our earth because we have a sun. In the spirit world, there is no sun. Everything is light. Okay, it's a wonderful place. When you travel, I caught myself because instead of having to walk, we just kind of moved. And Brigham called that rafting. He gave it a name. General Conference for old genealogists that have been in the spirit world. He called it rafting. And literally, if you thought you wanted to be somewhere, you were there. You just kind of poof. And then Brigham taught the concept that also that was true when I was over there, and that is, he said that those that make it to the celestial kingdom, the reason why they're going to be there is because every one of their thoughts will be celestial. Because if we would all say a prayer right now, Heavenly Father could hear every one of our secret prayers, and yet we never said a word. It went from our mind to His mind. And from the spirit world, when I walked by those little kids, I could read their minds. So right now, those of our loved ones that are in the spirit world, you can go on a mission among the ancient Aztecs or among or teach the Egyptians, and you don't even have to learn Egyptian because you communicate mind to mind. But that's what Brigham said. He said, you old Mormons, if you want to know if you're ready to go in the celestial kingdom, evaluate every one of your thoughts. And if they're all celestial, you're ready to go. But if there's one terrestrial or one telestial, you're going to be embarrassed to be there because everybody will be able to read your thoughts. Now, I've been bishop for many years. When I learned this concept, I decided, I'm going to try it. So I picked Sunday, a fast Sunday. I thought, man, I'm going to nail this one, I'm going to be good. I lasted through one PEC and one welfare meeting and half of Sunday school, and then the first terrestrial. I didn't have any telestials. But there was a lot of terrestrial. Okay? And that's how it is in the spirit world. You literally can communicate. You just want to talk to somebody, you just talk to them. It's just like when you pray to Heavenly Father. You just talk to them, and they can understand you. That's how it is. So far as what you wear and what you look like, those kids allowed me to know that the people in the spirit world can appear any way that they want to appear with priesthood permission. Another thing I learned there was, as a scientist, one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and I look forward to dying for this reason. I don't want to die, but I look forward to it someday. One of the things that you can do is with priesthood permission, if you hold the priesthood, you can get priesthood permission, and you can go see other Earths and other worlds. And I want to go see Mars and Venus, and I want to take a little holiday when I die, and do nothing but go visit other places in our galaxy. And you can waft there, and you can see the Earth from the other places and waft yourself back. The other thing that you can do in the spirit world, with priesthood permission, is you can go forward and backward in time. And I can have Owen Isom go with me and see their complete life history. except the things that they repent. You can't see that. But you can see everything else on their life. How when they came across the plains, part of their journey was on a railroad. They were all LDS in that one car, and the guy that spoke put the coal in the engine, decided he was going to burn the Mormons out. And so he lighted their car on fire, their wood car on fire, and they lost most of their possessions because they were able to live there, but they lost most of their possessions. I would love to see that actually happen. I would like to be with Owen when he tells me, or Elizabeth, when he explains how that happened to them as they were coming across the plain. And when you go in the spirit world, you're not limited to our time, to our space, to our communication, to our night and day. Those are all gone. In the spirit world, if you've been endowed and you're worthy of that endowment, there is nothing you can't do. You can go see other Earths. You can go forward in time. You can see what your great-great-great-grandchildren are going to look like 100 years from now during the millennium. And you can meet them as spirits before they come with bodies to the earth. If you're endowed and you're worthy of your priesthood. That's the only key. Only thing you have to do. Okay? Only. See, Joe's ready to do that now. If Joe were to die tomorrow, he'd be in good shape. He'd be on Mars tomorrow afternoon.
Fishing.
Okay? Well, you can't fish, I'm afraid. But, okay. Anyway, one other thing I need to tell you is your vision. I want to tell you this because another dream I had. Don't kick in the whole thing. We don't have time. I'm way over. Burned about Frank Creek on the line. Frank Creek and Margaret Creek. Because they were very anti-LDS when we lived on the earth. And so when I went into the world, I was able to see into their home on the day that she died. On the day that Margaret Creek died and left 4 or 5 children. I saw and met the children and the dad that was left. And what you guys care about is literally physical objects don't bother you. If you want to see inside of something, you can just see inside of it. I wanted to see inside the house, and I wanted to see and meet the dad. And immediately, the wall just as if it wasn't there. And I just saw inside, and I met him, even though I was a million miles away. But at the same time, I was a million miles away. It was as if I was standing right there next to him. But I was able to look through a wall to see him, and yet it was as if I was right there. So space is not as we know it in the spirit world. Some of you think I'm really crazy, and I probably am. And our patriarchal blessing said that I would gather for this year in the spirit world and to receive help from our ancestors. And that's the reason why I put the Isaac chart on there, because we have him back from Dad and Leah, thanks to Leah's help. She did a lot of this Isaac work. We have this line back 548 years from Dad and Leah. That's almost a half a millennium. We have it back. Anyway, way over time. I love you all. Thanks for coming to our reunion. And excuse me. I'm sorry we got some losses this last year. And I am very grateful to have the chance to do genealogy. Hope that you all will participate with us, help us. There's a lot to be done, and you can have lots of wonderful experiences too, as Barbara knows. This is indeed the Savior's Church. Let's pay a great price. Enjoy the blessings. And the blood of Ephraim flows in her veins. In the name of Jesus.
Ad in there when Grandma was working at Sears department store, and the whole ad is Patsy says, come and buy this and da da da. And I have a copy of that ad in there. There's just a combination of new silly things and some fun things. And I have copies of that for each of the family groups. But first we'll have Carol Ann read one of those poems that express how Mom and Dad felt at their time of their wedding 50 years ago.
She could certainly see into the future because it sounds like today. It's called An Out-of-Season Valentine to Marriage. It was late. You were asleep, and I was sitting at the table in the kitchen talking the recipe. When all of a sudden, I realized... Yes, I can.
You just go, teacher.
28 years starting next year. An out-of-season Valentine to marriage. It was late. You were asleep, and I was sitting at the table in the kitchen copying the recipe. When all of a sudden I realized that it didn't matter whether it was 1 cup of sugar or 2 cups of flour. You see, my dear, our life has not been one of weights and measurements. A pound of love for you, 16 ounces of thanks for me. Nothing works that way. Not if it works. I closed the cookbook and opened my life. It was like a movie, you know, the big flashback. Well, that's what I did today, the big flashback. I thought about you the way you were the first time we met. I thought about how you looked at me. And if I hadn't looked that same look back at you, maybe we never would have met. And just think what we would have missed. We would have missed a lot of long kisses, a lot of short tempers, and all that wonderful making up. We would have missed tuition and camp and outgrown clothes and soft, wet kisses and very big hugs and someone little saying, I love you. We would have missed that first apartment with that terrible furniture and the refrigerator door that opened into the hall and the joy of moving out. We would have missed a lot of walking, countless streetcar rides, and the pride of owning our first second-hand car. We would have missed the standee tickets, the balcony seats, and the thrill of moving up to the orchestra. We would have missed the goodbyes at airports, the farewells at train stations, and a lot of memorable hellos. We would have missed pediatrician bills, allergist fees, tonsils out, braces in. We would have been able to afford the psychiatrist we don't need instead. I suppose, my dear, that we have missed the fun of giving and getting furs and jewels and trips to Hong Kong. We have missed a house in the country and a villa in France and a dozen opening nights. But we haven't missed love. Although there have been times when it seems so. No, we haven't missed love. Not too many couples can say that, I suppose. Oh, we're busy with getting and gaining and wondering where the stock is today. But I know if the sky falls, you'll come to me. I know, too, that our marriage now isn't what our marriage was. It's a lot better now. Like wine, our marriage took aging. So here's to our vintage marriage. Here's to potato chips in bed and children that cough at night. Here's to dinner out and dinner in, and I won't be home for dinner tonight. Here's to the hot of marriage. Here's to the cold of marriage. Cold feet, cold cuts, cold cream. Here's to touching up gray hair and combing over bald spots. Here's to expanding waistlines and shrinking wallets and the fun of making both happen. Here's to you. Here's to me. Here's to us. Here's to recipes written at night for a life that still isn't perfect, but just between you and me. Did you expect it to be this good?
When thou goest, it shall lead thee. When thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. And when thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. For the commandment is a lamp. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light. And reproofs and instructions are the way of life.
So the very first verse 20, he's admonishing his son, keep thy father's commandments, and forsake not the law of thy mother. He specifies commandment being of the father, and the law being of the mother. Briefly, we'll go down to 23. This is chiastic. If you studied you've been to the Sunday school class, we talk about poetry and how the scriptures are all poetic. This is chiastic structure. He starts out with a basic principle, expounds on it, brings it to a peak, and then he brings it right back down and summarizes at the very end of it. At the end, he summarizes. At the first, he states, the commandment of thy father and the laws of thy mother. And then he says, the commandment is like a lamp, and the law is light. That your father is the foundation, is the framework, and you carry that on your back, you put it around your neck, and you take the law, which is the light, which is of your mother, and you stick it in your heart. And you carry that with you at all times. Now, the first blessing, if we'll do that in our lives, the first blessing is, when thou goest, it shall lead thee. Now think about that for a minute. When thou goest, it shall lead thee. Think about your parents. Think about a way that blessing has come into your life because of their teachings, because of their law, and because of their commandment, their light, and their foundation. When I think of that, I think of the foundation of character. Character is something that is built within us because of our parents. We see their example as we grow up. And as we face decisions, we rely upon what we have seen them do, the character that they have given us. When we're tempted with immorality, we think of the closeness and the love and morality that they had in their relationship. When we're tempted with theft or some of the other commandments, we think of their honesty, their integrity. That is what I think of. Now, growing up, the main thing that helped me stay honest and somewhat worthy was knowing the love that they had for me and the respect that they had for me. And that if I were to do something wrong, I would just decimate them. And so whenever I was tempted to do something, the thought immediately came into my mind, my parents would just die if they knew I was doing this. Margaret, you or Cliff have a thought or a story that you'd like to share in that line?
You know, when I was job interviewing, my very first job as a home ec teacher, I went into an interview and there were over 100 applicants for the same position. It was only a part-time job because all of the full-timers were already taken. And I had this quick 10-minute interview, and at the very end, she asked me the question, what would you say is your greatest asset? And I said immediately, without hesitation, my parents. And she said, that is the strangest answer I've ever heard. Explain to me why you would say that. And I said, all that I am, I have learned from my parents. The things that I believe in, the opportunities I have had, all are a result of the love that my parents had for me and providing for me. And so and she told me later that was the reason I got the job, was because I honored and respected my parents and recognized the value of family and background and that they could give me.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Beth, did you have your hand raised?
I remember one time we wanted to go play baseball, and it just rained a lot. And we decided we were going to go over to the Little League field and play baseball because that's where we wanted to play Little League the next year or two. And it just rained, and so we went out in the outfield, and in Winslow you get that Navajo mud. You know, it's really deep and gooey and clay. And so me and a couple of my friends went out there, and we played baseball out there, for a couple hours. We had a great time. Then I went home, and Dad saw my shoes. He said, well, where have you been? I said, well, we were out playing baseball. He said, where? And I said, oh, we're over the Little League field. And he got so upset. He said, well, I'm going to kick your hiney around this house 7 times if you did what I think you did. And we got in the truck, and we went over, and sure enough, in the outfield, we had made deep footprints all over the outfield of the only Little League park in Winslow. And so the next morning, he got me up early after it dried out, and he hooked on a drag, and we re-drugged that field. And ever since that experience, I was very young then. Everything that I've done, I thought, am I going to get my hiney kicked around the house 7 times? Or is this something I can do? Or am I going to embarrass my father, or my mother? And So yeah, I've been doing the same thing.
That's great. Thank you. Caroline, do you have something specific? Okay, well, we'll get you on the next two. The next blessing, when thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. When thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. One of the things that Mom and Dad always told me, whenever I had a problem, they'd always say, go sleep on it. Tomorrow's a new day. It's probably not so bad as it seems right now. And you're going to be here many days on your life on this earth. You don't have to solve it right now. Just go sleep on it, get a good night's sleep, and tomorrow's a new day. You can conquer it tomorrow if it was too much for me to handle. And in going to bed, one of the things that I really remember is whenever it was storming or raining outside, Mom and Dad would come into the crib or the little bed that I had, and Mom would caress my head, and Dad would sing his little
He loves singing it, Chuck.
his little buckaroo song. Well, I only know the first verse because I'd always fall asleep after the first verse.
He doesn't have any genetic background for singing though. So.
That's right.
He does too. He sings good.
So with a grain of salt and that temperament, go to sleep, my little buckaroo, with the western starlight shining brightly down on you, and dream a dream of love or two. Now go to sleep, you little monkey, you.
Oh, I remember that.
But your parents are with you in your sleep, in your dreams. They give you that calm, peaceful support. You have a place that you can go and be away from the world, be away from all your problems. And I've had many, and I've gone home many times to be home, to be away from the world.
Isn't that why we meet every so often like this? We meet each other and we feel that special bond.
Any special stories that you'd like to share? Okay. Third.
Yes, I'd like to just say one thing. I never did ever sing it that pretty. I don't know where that came from. It never came from my side of the line at all, because there's no music in our side. And another thing about, you can take this with a grain of salt if you want to. Because I never ever did kick my kids around the block 5 times.
We changed it to the blue car. Trying to find us.
He spanked us all the way home. We only did that once.
I remember the corner of the bed. He'd bring me in, sit me down, talk to me, made sure I knew why I was getting spanked, spanked my hiney till it was red, and then give me a big hug and a kiss.
I never got a spanking.
Dad spanked me all the time. Mom only spanked me once that I can remember. I came home and I had some pretty bad grades on my report card, not from studies, but from character.
Citizenship.
And she said, wait till your dad gets home, and she put my bottom and sent me to the bathroom.
That was it?
That was it.
Well, see, they found out it didn't work with me, so they gave up for the rest of you. Yeah, it didn't work.
We never did spank him, and look what happened. I wish we could do it again.
Okay, the third blessing is, and when thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. Here's a few phrases that may bring back some stories. If you're going to do it right. If I don't do it, someone else is just going to have to do it. The thing I hate worse The thing I hate worse than a liar is a cheat.
Nothing I hate worse than a liar and a cheat.
The later you stay up, especially when I'm watching Star Trek, the harder it will be to get up in the morning.
And if you dance, you got to pay the piper.
Dad, you gotta pay the piper.
We were still up anyway.
They don't even have to be there now.
I know.
Yeah, it comes right into mind. And that's the blessing. That's the blessing, is all of those teachings that they have instilled in you come to mind at the proper time. I remember I haven't had the magnificent visions that Cliff has had. He's much more close to the veil than I am. But I, in college, was constantly losing my car keys. I was coming into the house and grabbing books and running to my next class and so forth. And I would come in and throw my car keys anywhere and grab my stuff, and then I couldn't find them. I was constantly looking around the house trying to find my car keys. And the Lord would help me. I'd say a quick prayer, and my mind would come to where my keys were, and I'd go to bed, and they would be lifted in my books or someplace. And one time he got really frustrated with me. And he wasn't going to tell me where they were. And so I had to go down and kneel down because I was late for an important test. And asked him where my keys were because I had to go to my class and take this test. And in my mind came Mom and Dad right there into my frame of mind. And Mom had her arm through Dad's. And Dad said, "All right, we'll tell you one more time. But from now on, you pick 2 places in your house. And when you come, you put them in one of those 2 places. They're under your bed next to your shoe. You dropped them and you kicked them and they went under the bed." And so I got up from my knees and there were my keys under the bed. And before I left the house, I picked 2 places in the house where I would always put my keys. And I do that from this day forward. And so when the time comes,
It was really cute, and I had that on tape. I'll share with anybody that wants to. And if we have time while we're eating dinner, maybe we'll get them to tell us again how that happened. And then a week later, they went on their first date. And if I understand, was that the time that you took her out the park way out of town and got stuck in the mud or ran out of gas or something? And she fell asleep because she was working so hard. There's lots of little stories about their courtship. We hope they'll share with us over lunch. About 2 months later, she says down here, November 30th, we knew for sure. And then 3.5 months after they first met, he proposed. And then he was rather slow to finally get a ring, because that was 6 months after that he finally gave her an engagement ring. But then a week and a half later, they had their engagement tea. A week and a half after that, they were married. So it was a very, once they decided they didn't want to wait anymore to waste any time. And then, of course, Grandpa went on the railroad, and she has all these dates. You'll enjoy reading, and then the dates of each of her children as we were born. We would like to give Mom and Dad this time to give a few remarks to us. I've left it pretty open for them. They can just say 1 or 2 things, or they can tell us a little bit about their background. Some of these grandchildren may not know that Mom was a switchboard operator for a while, or that Daddy was an insurance salesman for a while, or that he was a conductor on the railroad for a long while. So if there's just a few things that we'll let Mom say some things first. Do you want to get out of the sun?
Yeah.
We're just towards the very end, and then after you two share some remarks with us, then we just have a. Do you want to do that? Okay. Do you have that with you? Yeah. Why don't you just share that poem and then any remarks you may want to make? Okay. Yes.
I just want to thank all of you for being here. I want you to know I love you all dearly. I love my children. I love their companions. And I love all of my grandchildren. And I just can't say any more. You all know I love you. But when we were married, the morning we were married, I have 2 things to tell you. My father was a jeweler, and this is on his stationery letterhead from his store. H. Black, Diamonds, Watches, and Jewelry, Gift and Art Department in Arizona. The morning that I was just on my way to the wedding and to be married, and I met my sister in the kitchen. She's very talented. I have stacks of poems and music she's composed, and she composed this poem, and we stood in the kitchen. She gave me a big hug. There was just the two of us in the family, just my sister and I. And she handed me this poem that she had written to me. To my little sister on her wedding day. Today is your day to come forth in glory, though brides for ages have been an old story. According to custom, which rules ere law, you're nervous and jittery, and so lovely withal. Your face is alight with the glow that you're in. I even caught you in the midst of a grin. You're breathtakingly lovely, though you think we're a sight. All of your sweetness comes forth like a light. You're bound to be happy from the look in your eyes, so nervous yet calm, naive and yet wise. As brides through the ages have been ever so, you're excited and happy, and he loves you so. All of us smile with a prayer in our hearts, for the best of all things must be yours from the start. With all my love, Dick. And I had a very, very dear friend, Mrs. Erin, and this is her wedding gift to us. And I love this lady. We just love this lady so much. Dear Patsy, my wish is to give you something lasting. I do not know what your silver pattern is, but I'm certain any jeweler will gladly exchange. So please feel free to do so. Our wish is that your days may be filled with sunshine, with just enough of clouds to ensure a glorious sunset, and that's what we have today. Lovingly, Mary. This gift is from silver dollars. I have saved them for 50 years to give to my children. We give them to each of you today as we celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. May all of your clouds have a silver lining. Our love, Mary and Daddy.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you all.
My only thing is, this you should have given to us on the 25th, and now that it's 50th, where's the gold? We still appreciate it. Okay, Daddy, nice picture. On the hot.
Well, I'm sorry to say this, but my kids aren't as perfect as they pretend that they are. You know what? They're wonderful kids and all of that. And they talk about all of this, how we discipline them and one thing or another. Well, I guess I got that from my parents. I grew up a little town in Hinkley, right down here about 78 miles down here, Hinkley, Utah. And it was during the Depression. And any of you know about the Great Depression? We had some good farmland, and the farms never failed. No, I had 4 brothers. I have 3 brothers and a sister. This is my sister who were living at that time. During the big flu epidemic, we lost a brother and 2 sisters that were in their teens. They died of the flu, and we buried them all on the same day. And so that basically is my family, except a little 3-year-old brother, the oldest one in the family. He died got into some rat poison when he was just 3 years old. And so that was our family. And we were growing up, and the discipline around our family was simply this. You did what you were told, and you did it now. And we had a big tamarack hedge all along the south side of the lawn. And you know how those tamarack willows grow? Boy, they're nasty. And well, us four brothers, we kept that thing trimmed down. Because Mom would send us out for a willow, and you had better bring back one that got the job done. You brought back a little one, you went back again. You brought back your big one, you were afraid to bring that back. So you discarded that. You got the right size, just enough to hang your hides good. And once in a while, my other brothers, they really wore that path out there. But for me, I never.
Oh, yeah. Now you know why we say it. There goes the sailor.
But we grew up in the Depression, and as I said, our farm never failed us. We had good crops every year. Had a little drought during that time, which made it a little tougher. But I tell you this, we never had any money. But we were the fattest naked people in the country. We really were. I don't dare tell you what we used to call Leah. She was kind of a disciplinarian to my younger brother and myself, Clayton and myself. She'd, whenever we weren't right up to snuff, you could depend on Leah. I won't say any more, Leah. But she kind of kept us in line when Mom and Dad weren't around. But Meg asked me to say a little about what happened to me. Well, I grew up on the farm, and I went to graduate from Hinkley High School, which originally was a church school, Millard Academy. But then when Utah became a state, why the church turned all of their academies over to the state to be state high school. And so I was in Hinkley High School instead of Millard Academy. And I never did graduate from high school. I never did graduate from high school. It was during the Depression, and 3 weeks before we were supposed to have our graduation, and we had everything all lined up, who would give the talks and all of that stuff, we never had it because they just plain ran out of money, and the teachers had taught just as long as they could without anything to eat, and so they just called it the special assembly, and those were to give talks and stuff. Gave a little impromptu talk, and they handed out a slip of paper to us, and it was a month or so later that we finally got our diploma. But I always said I never did graduate from high school. They called it off then. Well, I was big enough, a big overgrown, awkward kid, and I had a chance to go to college at Branch Agricultural College in Cedar City, Utah, and they wanted me down there to play football, and nobody else would have me, so it was junior college. I went down there for my first year.
What'd you major in, Grandpa?
Well, I was going to be a doctor. Like my son finally turned out to be a doctor, I was going to be a doctor. And my first year in college was practically all on med, pre-med. But then I went to go back there for the second year of school, and my brother took me down. My older brother took me down to school, and he had a girl friend that was going to Dixie College on down in St. George. And the whole school had gone up Cedar Canyon, North Cedar City, for a school picnic. So there was no one around, and so I went on down to St. George with him. And while I was down there, why, darn if they didn't talk me into going to school down there, play basketball. I played basketball against them the year before, and I got a job that would pay all expenses and all other things that go along with as I say, this was during the Depression. You did what you had to do, and I could see my way clear. So I went down to Peterson School. Well, the next year, I was on my way up to USAC at Logan, and I was in Cedar City, and I got a phone call from my mother, and she said there's a school in Flagstaff, Arizona, that wants 3 of you fellows from Utah to come down there and play basketball. Like I said, we'd beat them badly. But they came up there on a Barnstorming tour, and we watched them here out of the Dixie. And so 3 of us got together, and we came down. And we got down there on a Saturday night, looked the school over on Sunday, and we just been looking at Lexington College over and all of this stuff. We looked the school all over and decided, well, now, this is a good school. And Monday morning we registered and called the folks on the telephone and said, send me something to wear. And they put some clothing together and sent it to me. And I spent 2 years with Arizona State Teachers College at Flagstaff. And graduated from there, went out to teach school at Round Valley High School. And I was head of the commercial department, and I taught commercial subjects and coached football, basketball, and track. And so then I taught that 3 years, and then came to Flagstaff. And then I was offered the job in Winslow, and that was my step up from where I was at Round Valley, much larger school and more prestige and what have you. So I went up there, taught for 2 years. At the end of that 2 years, why, my wife was going to school. My wife now, she wasn't never met, but she'd come home during the year on vacation from school. She's going to the University of Arizona, and I would leave on vacation. She'd come home during the holidays, and I'd leave. And it was my second year there before I met her. And I went to a big dance, and she was with us. We each had our own dates, and I was standing there watching the dancers, and with a friend of mine, and she danced by, and I said, well, now, this guy's name was Joe Weidinger, and I nudged him, and I said, who is that? And he said, that's Patsy Black. Don't you know her? She lives here. She plays here. And I said, I've never seen her before. And so I went and asked her for a dance. In those days, the women carried the card, and we would go and ask for a dance, and she'd put it down. And I asked her if I could have a dance, and well, Joe took me over and introduced me. And then when I went to get the dance, she said, you can have number 14.
Number 14.
And I said, young lady, I asked for a dance tonight. And she looked at me and gave me a look more than a kill a cow. And she said, well, that's the first one I've got. Boy, this is as rough to me as she could be. Well, I had to sneak away from her, but I was watching. And a few minutes, 2 or 3 dances later, I saw her standing over there looking and looking. We'd all meet in a gang, you know, in the corner of the dance hall. And I was looking at her, and I've been watching her all the time. And she looking around for a partner. And I didn't have that dance, so I went over and I asked her, I said, would you mind dancing with me until your partner comes in? And I knew where he was. This is not a Mormon town, and he was out getting a drink, and I knew it. So sure enough, we started dancing. I'd taken about 2 steps, and I knew that I had in my arms was the best dancer that I'd ever met, that I'd ever danced with. And I thought I was kind of fancy myself. And so after we made a few turns, I got to thinking, I wonder if this is a dream or if she's real. So I started putting on all the steps that I had, boy, the very best I had. And she just floated right along with me. And never stepped on me once. Got out of step, and I thought, this can't be. But before that night was over, I had 4 more dances. I had 4 dances all told. And not only that, I had a date. I always try to teach my kids, when you take a girl to a dance, wherever you take a girl, she is the queen for the night. She's the queen for the night, regardless. But after the night's over, well, then you're on your own. But, so I would have loved to have taken her home, but I didn't dare. My training has all been against that. And anyway, we had a date for a little later. That's 6 days later we had a date Texas. The next night.
He said no, it wasn't.
Well, anyway.
Maybe it was.
Anyway, that's how I met, and that's what started all. Oh my God! Had I known what I know now.
You'd have still done it. You'd have still done
You
it.
stay home.
Well, I was like Joe. I was resisting to the bitter end, but she finally won out.
All right.
That's our life story, except we decided to get married that spring, and 50 years ago today. And so instead of going back to Denver, where I was getting my master's degree, why I had an opportunity to go on the railroad, to work on the railroad, trainman. Well, they wanted me as a bookkeeper and accountant, but I didn't figure on staying with it. I was going to stay with people. And so I went as a trainman and to make a little more money. And before the summer was over, I decided that that's what the lady wanted to do. And she was my wife by then, and she knew all about railroading and the hardships of it and the benefits of it too. And so I stayed on the railroad for 39 and a half years. And the last 15 years, why, I was not only a conductor on the road, but running these trains. The engineer always gets them well, being the one who runs the train, the conductor is the brain behind it all. He tells me, first, Ryan, I was teaching him railroad signal the other day. So the engineer looks to see what signal the conductor gives you, when he gives you. how he gives it. But anyway, the last 15 years, why, I was out a good part of the year as a rules examiner, teaching rules on the coastline, which extends from Albuquerque to Needles and to Phoenix to Grand Canyon. And I was responsible for everybody on the railroad who was in train service, well, from the superintendent on down, to they knew the rules and that they could pass the examinations that were required. And I gave a lot of those examinations. But that was, and then retired from that. Since then, my mom and I have been to Montana on a 2-year mission, and then since then, my mission, I guess, just to keep alive.
But there's a bishop too.
Oh yeah, I was called just a month after we came back from our mission. Why, I was called as a bishop. My first term as a bishop was the Central Third Ward. And since then, been on the High Council, and then one night in the High Council meeting, and President turned to me and he says, we have got to get someone as state physical facilities clerk. We're in a mess. That's just the way he put it to me. He said, who would you suggest? And I knew what he had in mind. And we were, at that time, we were the branch president out at Duluth, Arizona, out on the reservation. And he said that, looked right at me, and I said, well, I don't know of anybody that's better qualified. And so that's what I'm doing now. And I want to tell all of you, that in spite of all of the hoorah I give you and all of that stuff, I'm mighty proud of the Lord allowed me to have my children and grandchildren. And that's it.
Thank you, Daddy. We love you so, and we want to just express some of our feelings for you in a few little tokens of those feelings. First, we have something from the grandchildren. Kim, what do you want?
Cover golf in my life. But what I did was I found some of these, and these are golf club covers that look like monkeys. And so I want to give these to Dad to put on your woods or whatever it is you put them on. And if the clubs make a monkey out of you, then that's what it's all about.
Do I
Little monkey, you.
have to be reminded of my kids every time I go?
And then for Mom, as you all know, Mom loves swans. And so what I did was I was able to find a card that says especially for you on your anniversary. And it's got swans in it and a couple holding hands. And all of your family has signed this for you today. Debbie goes, oh, and that's
So sweet.
Okay, so there's your card. And then Mom had a birthday a couple of days ago, and we were in the temple doing genealogy work, and we were in there with Joe. We didn't have a chance to give her a present, so what we did, and I'm going to have to help you open this, because I had to pack the travel to bring it to her. I was in one of these specialty gift shops, and Mom has every swan that's ever been made, okay? But I found this in a brass shop, made of polished brass, and when I saw it, I said this would be great for my mama for her birthday. So now that I've got it started opened, you can finish opening it. And this is happy birthday and happy 50th from all your family.
Bethany couldn't say swan when she was a baby, and so she called all my swans ducks. So I got some ducks around the house.
Those are beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, don't let that box get away. I'll put it right back.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, Mama. Are you 28 yet?
Not yet. I wish somebody would collect
Well, while Chuck is getting his thing together, Lizzie has a little card that she created herself, and along with Terry and Susie, they have a card that they've made for their grandma. And we have in the trailer during lunch, I'll bring out and put them on the tables Mom's scrapbook that shows their wedding pictures and everything. We have that to show you. And Mom also brought her wedding dress. She said it looked a whole lot better before she washed it. And we have that out. We were trying to find a cousin skinny enough to wear it. I think she was even smaller than any of you girls here when she got married. So I'm not sure. Maybe Jana would be able to fit in it, but I think she's probably the only one maybe. So we'll bring those out and let you see those as well. Chuck has got his. Jana, did you want to?
She's behind you.
Okay, while Chuck's sitting there.
Grandpa?
Well, what our family's done to give to you for your anniversary is we're putting together for you a scrapbook that's just about this weekend. All the fun we've been having. And we've got a picture of, like a little genealogy kind of picture, but it's just you and your kids. And then for each one of your kids, we have a house of them with their kids in it. And that's in there. And we've been taking pictures all week, and Dad thought he would get a jump on it and ask if he could have a copy of them all, but he didn't know we were just taking them all for you anyway. So you get them all anyway. All these pictures have been taken. All you cousins have all been granting me for making you smile. They're all for Grandma and Grandpa, and these are all going to go in your scrapbook. And everybody who's here, and there's also more papers for those of you who just came up today. If you have any messages you want to write down for them, they've all written you little messages, everybody that's here, something why they love you so much, and there's a lot of reasons in here. And it's just something so you can remember the weekend. Because we love you.
And afterwards, she wants each of the family groups to get together for a picture too, so we can.
Right, so we can have, these are all just mixed up, everybody all around in the group. But after this is all done, everybody stay here real quick. We'll just get you in a group and take a snapshot real quick.
And then Janet had something she wanted to do. And then we have some more family that has just come, so maybe we can find room for everyone. And then we'll.
Mom ran across a whole sack full of her old pins and Grandpa Black's pins. And so I took a frame, one of Grandma Black's picture frames, and we put it all together for you, something that you can stick on your wall. It has your badges when you were a nurse and nurse's aide. Looks like here's your Cub Scout Den Mother pin, a couple of sorority pins, your high school pin, graduation pins, and then your 2 Boy Scout pins from your 2 sons that you're able to pin on your lapel, and then some of Grandpa Black's pins over here. Unfortunately, in the move out here, the frame was broken, and so but we've got everything else on there. We'll just get a new frame for you and get that to you. Okay. Now, all of your kids have fished together along with these other presents.
That is lovely. How did you say that?
And we've had all these video cameras. You've been complaining about not getting to see your kids enough. We all have cameras and ways to film ourselves. And you're going to get a nice edited version of everything that we've been doing this whole weekend. And you need something to play it on. Grandma was complaining about all old cowboy movies Dad's been watching. Now she can go rent her own.
Grandkids, why don't you come on up? We're going to sing our closing song. All the grandchildren.
It's
Families can be together forever. Through Heavenly Father's plan.
I always want to be with my own family, and the Lord has shown me how I can. The Lord has shown me how
Trying to get Uncle Rock. He just arrived. Gotta get your smiling face on.
That shouldn't be hard to do around here.
No.
Oh, you're gonna bug on me.
Who's going to take over?
Does anyone who it's already been cut?
Would you like some? I'll bring you some.
Are you ready for peace?
Would you like some, Grandpa?